Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? Hush.
Welcome, World Ablaze listeners. This is episode 53. Appreciate everybody who listens to the show, and I am going to, let's do a little housekeeping before I get to it. Firstly, if you guys don't know, anybody listening, this is part of a small network that I have out there with my brother. It is the Fonts Media Network. And I encourage you to listen to the other shows on this network. Now, I appreciate everybody who listens to World Ablaze. And I again, will ask you, the only thing I ask of you, to be quite honest, is to just share the show with others. Just like, follow, and share the show. That's all I ask. I'm not here asking you for money, not asking for support and donations or Patreon subscriptions or whatever everybody else does. I don't have hats, mugs, and t-shirts like other podcasters do. But by you listening and sharing this show, we do get a little bit of a kickback in advertising. And it's not direct advertising. It's literally just a little bit of kickback from our host. And they handle all of that because it's Sprecher. They're owned by iHeart. Now, I'm not saying we are part of iHeart, but they give us that opportunity to earn a little bit, which is great. And that, that covers a little bit of the cost of the studio, the marketing, and the advertisements that we do for our shows. But I also want you to give a little support to my brother's show, for example, the Stretch Goose podcast. He has his son, my nephew, as his co-host. Whenever he is on that show, they do cover multiple topics, so it is news. When my brother is by himself on the show, it's news, and he gives his opinions and a little bit of narrative on some politics and other things. But primarily, they're very much a variety show. So it's based on movies, current events, video games, just general interest stuff, and of course, they do cover news topics. So give that a listen. Support Stretch Goose podcast. Now, if you have been a fan of Random Thoughts with Manuel and George, that's the show that I co-host with my brother. It's been on a little bit of a hiatus. It is coming back. It's not dead. We haven't forgotten it. We're retooling it. We're going to refocus how we handle that show. Look for that come January. And again, it's not going away. We love that show. We love being together on that show. We have a lot of crazy discussion, and that is where you're going to hear me talk a lot of shit. I go off the handle quite a bit, but that's not gone. It's coming. So if you do like that show and you support that show, just hang in there. It is coming. Also coming in January. If you're on X and you haven't followed me yet, you could find me at Fonts Ablaze. So my handle is at Fonts Ablaze. That's FONTES Ablaze. I will be hosting an X Space once a week, and I will be doing that with Curvin O'Coin from This Week Explain. So we're going to get together and do it once a week. It's going to be a very tight, bright, concise, kind of like a power lunch, midday, power info session. We're going to try to keep within 30 to 45 minutes, and we're going to focus on, the hot topics of the week on social media, or what's going on in geopolitics, or even what's going on in America. And we're going to try to keep that as tight and concise as we can within the time frame that we're given. And that will also be a place where you will have the opportunity, if you're part of that space, to express your opinions and give us your 2 cents on what you think of the topics of discussion for that day. So be on the lookout for that. That's also planned for January. That is something that we are going to be doing, and that should be consistently, I believe we're thinking Tuesdays or Wednesdays, but just stay tuned. I will tighten up that scheduling and announce that as on this show, and of course on my social media. So again, follow me at Fonts Ablaze on X and be on the lookout for that as well. Okay, so with all the housekeeping out of the way, as they say, let's dive into it. Now be forewarned, I'm starting with a bit of a tragic story as I discuss the mass shooting event that just happened in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, if you're unaware, I'm sure you are aware, but if you aren't aware, a teenage girl just went ahead and shoots fellow students I believe, in a teacher at a Wisconsin school. Now, there's a bunch of information out there that's slowly being revealed. I'm going to relay what I know, and after we do this, I'm going to dive into the other topics of discussion that have come up as it relates to this school shooting. So there's a few sources, but Reuters just came out with something not that long ago, a few hours ago, actually. I'm recording this on December 17th, Tuesday, so hopefully you are hearing it on this Tuesday later when this is released. And I'm going to do my best to not just relay the info, but dive into the politicization of this event. But getting to the information, I'm going to read a little bit of what Reuters has reported. So this is the summary of what they know. Police chief said that the shooter shot herself dead after the rampage. The shooter was Natalie Rupnow, a 15-year-old student at the school, wounded 6, and 6 have been taken to the hospital, 2 with life-threatening injuries. And as of December 16th, this is when this happened, like literally yesterday, as of this recording, by the way. So I'm recording December 17th, the day before this just happened. It's reported that a 15-year-old girl opened fire in a Wisconsin school classroom on Monday, which was yesterday from this recording, so December 16th. She fatally shot a fellow student and a teacher, in addition, wounded 6 other people, and then killed herself with a handgun. The shooting took place in a mixed-grade study hall shortly before 11 a.m. at the Abundant Life Christian School, which has 420 students from pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. Shooter was a student at the school, identified by police as Natalie Rupnow, who also went by the name Samantha. So she was also going by a different name. This report goes on to say that of the 2 that were shot dead, it was a teenage student and a teacher. There were 2 other wounded students that were in critical condition with life-threatening injuries. But there was also another teacher as well as 3 other students that were expected to live. As of now, they can't confirm a motive for the violence, and they're not quite sure why this heinous act has been carried out. And it's going to be hard to find out now since the shooter, this young girl, took her own life after she killed 2 others and injured a few that may or may not survive. The question stands, and this is where the politicization comes in. How did she get a gun? Now, it was a handgun, not an automatic, semi-automatic assault rifle. It was a handgun. But right away on social media, instead of focusing on the tragedy itself, the loss of life, right away, people just can't help themselves. Right away, politicians, leftist pundits, far-left idiots, Democrats want to kick and scream and cry about gun control laws and taking away your right to own a weapon. The question isn't really about gun control and restrictions so much as it is, how are these young people, these teenagers, even getting their hands on a weapon? I mean, they can't legally go and purchase one. So if they can't purchase one, and in most cases can't even legally own one, then how is it they're even getting their hands on these weapons? It goes back to the question as to, should the parents of these individuals be punished as well? Should they be prosecuted and sent to jail for the actions of their children? Some will say yes, some will say no. It's really a question of society. What is causing the youth of today to go straight to violence and want to just kill their peers rather than dealing with whatever they're going through? Something has changed within the last 5 to 7 years. And of course, we can point towards social media. We can even point towards the amount of lies and rhetoric being spewed by the media. And let's just be quite honest, the alphabet agenda and the blatant messaging that confuses children as to what gender they should be and how they should feel and who they should love. Now, this particular child, this teenager, this wasn't the case. This person wasn't identified as another gender or trans or whatever trendy label that they would choose to use. This was a girl. This was a confused girl, a girl with hatred. And we have to start really nipping this at the bud, as they say, because these children, and that's who they are, whether they're a teenager or not, they're not yet an adult, they're not in their 20s, they're not in their 30s, these are teenagers. They're going through puberty, they're going through changes mentally, emotionally, socially. And we can further argue that social media has driven a wedge and a divide between people because interacting face to face is not always easy for the majority of people anymore. While you do have to interact in school and within a group setting, the ability for people to continue to make fun of others and bully them on social media after they have gone home makes it hard because they can't escape it. They don't have a place to go to where they can just tune it out. And I'm not suggesting that was the case here. But what is evident is children are not given an outlet anymore. They don't feel there's a safe space for them to go. The ones who are under these pressures continue to internalize their issues and problems because as busy as life has gotten, even adults don't seem to make time for the children to advise them and help them get through these troubling times. So these children continue to internalize their confusions, their anger, their hatred, until it just boils over and turns into a tragic situation, such as what just happened in Madison, Wisconsin. So we could blame the parents. We could blame the access to a weapon on the parents, especially if this child had secured the weapon from their parents themselves or from the household. So yeah, some responsibility absolutely falls back on the parents. But I also realize the truth of the matter is this: an angry individual set on violence as a solution is going to find a way, regardless of whether or not there was a weapon in the house or not. They're going to find a way. And it has been a case in other mass shootings where the weapon wasn't always necessarily from the household itself, but was acquired elsewhere. They will find a way. The question is, how do we stop it from even getting to this point? Because it is the emotional instability and stress that has led them to make the decision to kill others, and in some cases, kill themselves after they have committed this act. Now, I don't have the answer. I'm not a child psychologist. I'm not a sociologist. I'm neither. I'm not a doctor, but I am a concerned citizen of the United States of America who is witnessing the steady decline of our civilization, our society, our culture. And if the children are our future, what does it say about us if our children aren't even getting a chance to deal with the pressures of even being a child, in which they would have to make the choice to kill others, kill themselves, and create chaos within the world, leaving behind family members who have to grieve and deal with the fact that the decision has been made to have their children taken from them. Now, I blame it on confusing messaging. Messaging as it usually relates to the transgender agenda. But in this case, in this particular shooting, this wasn't necessarily so, but there was still very confusing messages that this person was getting. As of now, it has yet to be revealed as to her family situation, how she was treated at home, the relationship with her father. But she was apparently being influenced by someone somewhere. There's an excerpt, some writings, some words taken from her manifesto that have been floating around social media. And I'm going to be fair to you all in saying I personally have not necessarily confirmed all of this, but there was enough of it floating around and being presented by others that at this point, I can assume this to be true. But apparently, she was a feminist, a hardcore feminist in her mind, that felt that she was on a mission and had an agenda to wipe out men. Here's a few words. Says, women are the only hope for this wretched world, but even women have been brainwashed by moids. I'm sure that's a misspelling. It's probably texted, but I'm going to read it as it's coming to me. So, brainwashed by moids for too long. They've internalized the patriarchy and turned on each other, always begging for male approval and validation. It's disgusting. I realize the truth men are irredeemable. Radfem Hitler is fucking vindicated now. They can't be reformed or redeemed. They're a fucking scourge upon the earth. The only solution is to total exterminate them and every void who worships these fucking parasites. Every single male must be wiped out, from babies to the elderly. Only they can, women, be free to create a new world. I'll be a pioneer. I'll be the first to take the first step. I don't care if they're fathers, brothers, husbands, sons, teachers, police, and especially, I won't say that word, but let's just say the N word, or politicians. I've been craving to kill them all. This is my mission. Only when their parasitic sludge has been expunged from the earth is when then the world will be clean and women can start over. It's the only way. In approximately 10 minutes, I should be dead. It's strange, but it feels good. So this was taken from her manifesto. And I apologize for some of the words because it seemed, I'm not sure if it was intentional, but it looks like some of them were misspelled. You know, when you're texting on your phone and certain words get auto-corrected or tries to type for you. So that's what it looks like. But the message is very clear. She hated men. She hated authority. And she wanted to be one of the pioneers in her own mind to take the first step to start to exterminate these people that she felt were a detriment to society and to the world. Now, I'm not sure where a 15-year-old would get this view, where they would get the ideas that are laid out in what I just read to want to pick up a weapon and just start killing others. I also don't know, because it hasn't been revealed, if this individual, this child, was on any kind of medications, should have been on medications, or was actually on medications but wasn't taking them. That's another question that hasn't been answered. And so I'm sure more will be revealed as this goes on, as the investigation ensues. But you still got to ask, how did this person become radicalized? How did this person come to think this way and feel that the only way forward was to kill others and then kill herself? I don't know. It's tragic. And the fact that these things continue to happen is sad. Now, the other sad thing are the politicians, and again, as I said, the leftist idiots who think that they can take the opportunity to politicize this tragic event and use it as ammo to start to tout how we have to restrict the ownership of guns, the type of guns, revise your 2A rights. And it's very, very stupid of them. And it's in poor taste. This isn't the time for that. But I'm going to read something that I actually found on social media. I don't have the name of the person. I wish I did. I'd give them credit. But it's an interesting take on this because, listen, blaming the tool for the murder or for the tragic incident and not blaming the person who committed the tragic event or murder, it's ridiculous. It's like putting the cart before the horse. You know, a hammer could be used to nail a nail into a frame, hang a picture, help build a wall, etc. But that same person can take that hammer and use it to beat someone's head in and kill them. Now, please, I'm not giving you any ideas, but we've all seen it in movies. We've also seen it in many true crime documentaries. A tool is a tool until someone chooses to use it differently. So this person that I was referring to, I'm sorry I don't have their name. I found it on an X post, but it made a lot of sense. But to summarize, it goes like this. It says Cain used a rock to murder Abel. David used a rock to destroy Goliath. So the meaning of which is the rock being the tool can be used for good or bad depending on the person and their intent. David killed Goliath with a rock and a sling to destroy a monster that was terrorizing and killing people, while Cain used a rock to murder his brother over jealousy and internal rage that he carried. I think that was a perfect example of how we should view this. Taking away our 2A rights and the ability to arm ourselves against potential threats and even a tyrannical government is not the answer. It just is not the answer. The answer is getting down to the bottom of why our children are so mentally unstable lately, emotionally unstable. Maybe we need to really focus on what's being taught in the classroom. Maybe we need to focus on what they're being exposed to on social media. Now, I'm not vying for censorship, so don't even go there with me because I'm not. But as a parent, maybe there should be limits on how much time they spend on social media. And maybe parents just need to get more involved and really care about what their kids are going through and ask their kids how they can be helped. Now, I am not saying that everyone in America, every parent in America is bad, because they're not. But I do believe our society has become so ingrained with so much noise and so many demands financially. I mean, parents are working multiple jobs just to get by. And yes, there are some parents who work some very good jobs, make really good money. And those are far and few in between, though. The majority of people out there are struggling to survive. And as their time is being focused on trying to earn that money and give their kids a better life and paying for the house that they live in and feed and clothe them and keep them busy with programs and everything else that they want to do for their child, it gets to a point where they may not even be making time for their child's emotional health. And with that being said, we also got to ask, are the teachers paying attention in school? See, a teacher used to care about those things. And now it's become less and less of an issue. Now it's more about supporting whether or not they're a rainbow flag cape wearing individual and supporting whether or not they want to be a man or a woman based on their choice, instead of really just hearing a child out and answering unobjectively, without bias, without trying to push a gender narrative, and telling a child, well, you're just confused and maybe you just don't know what gender you want to be. And you're going through this crazy emotional roller coaster because you should be a woman or a man instead of what you are. Because that has been the case in public education. And you can hate me. You can talk whatever you want behind my back. Hell, you can message me directly and tell me. But I've seen it firsthand. And you're not going to convince me otherwise, because again, I've seen it firsthand. These things happen. We need to be more concerned with what children are going through and be the actual pillars of light for them. Well, as much as we can be, because we're all faulty. None of us are perfect. But we should be there to guide and advise. That is the role of an adult. That is the role of a parent. We're there to help them stay on the course to a good life and to make good decisions. And I really think we need to get back to that. Now that was a heavy discussion and a heavy topic, but I'm going to do my best to transition out of this. And I think the best way to do it is to, well, just transition out of it. Let's talk drones. Let's talk drones over New Jersey, over the East Coast, all the sightings, all the speculation, everything going on. I already went over this in my previous episode that was just released, episode 52. And I played some clips and videos of the White House basically acknowledging, but not acknowledging, not confirming nor denying, like being very vague about the whole situation. There's a video that has been floating around by an individual, John Ferguson, who's a CEO of a drone manufacturer. Now, this was a TikTok video that was released. He gave his opinion on the situation that's been going on. And apparently he's caught the attention of Joe Rogan, and not sure if he's ever going to be on his show, but I already know he's already been contacted by Charlie Kirk. He was just on Charlie Kirk's show, a few other podcasts, etc. Hell, even I've reached out to him. Now, there's no guarantee he'll be on my show, but at the same time, I did my best to reach out to him early to see if we can get some comments and dive a little bit deeper into that discussion. And hopefully he responds. And if he does, well, you all will absolutely know. But regardless, I'm going to do my best to see if we can get him on. But if not, I'm still going to give you my opinion and take based on the video I do have. And I've been going over this situation back and forth with other individuals. And I have to say that in this video, you can tell he knows what he's talking about. Obviously, being the CEO of a drone manufacturer, he does know about drones. But I have to question some of the other information and claims in the video. Now, it's a 9-minute long video. I may play this whole video. I'm unsure as of right now. I'm kind of doing this on the fly, so this hasn't been pre-planned or anything. I'm just going to play this. I may interject. I'll give some opinion, etc. But I want you to take a listen, be open-minded, and formulate your own opinion. So that being said, let's go ahead and play this video.
Hey everyone, my name is John Ferguson. I'm the CEO of Saxon Aerospace here in Wichita, Kansas. I'm not normally a TikTok kind of a guy. I like watching this stuff every once in a while. But I'm a manufacturer of unmanned aircraft, military grade unmanned aircraft, as you can see one of my systems here. There's all of these mysterious drones going on off the East Coast, and as a professional, as a subject matter expert, I wanted to give you all my opinion on what I think could be going on with these drones. I don't particularly believe that these have a nefarious intent. I could be wrong, but I want to give you the truth and what I believe. It's my own opinion, and I've not bounced this off of anybody. So, if you think it's bullshit, whatever, that's cool. I don't want to spread misinformation, as we know that there's a lot of that going around. But anyway, back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program, and there were, with Russia, there were countless nuclear missiles that were disarmed and disposed of. Well, there were over 80, I believe. There were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in Ukraine that came up missing. Okay? We don't know where they are. Maybe somebody does, but nobody really knows where these are. And I speak with some pretty high-level government officials on this stuff, and it seems as though that is the case. So I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed, about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched this warhead that was left over from Ukraine. And he knew that thing was headed towards the United States. Okay? That is a very serious deal. And everyone knows that the United States government, this administration, is pushing to get into a war with Russia. We all know that. We all feel it. We all see it. Okay? Well, back up a few years. Do y'all remember when those drones were mysteriously flying across the Interstate 70 corridor from Colorado up into Nebraska, down here into Kansas, and out into Missouri? Well, it was believed that those drones were looking for radioactive material because there had been some material that came up missing.
Okay, so far, I'm going to chalk a lot of this up to speculation. I'm not going to question whether or not this person has access to actual government officials. I mean, let's just be honest. He has a company that actually makes military grade drones. I'm sure he has government contracts. But the person that he's going to be dealing with isn't necessarily the person who's going to have the clearance to even give information or even speculate on whether or not these are actual nukes that were stolen and never recovered. I mean, these nuclear warheads he's claiming that are still floating around from the 80s, actually, from what I recall, have been recovered and accounted for. I know Russia pretty much swooped them up. Now, it's not to say that a few didn't go out into the ether somewhere, and I'm sure they're still out there. But I'm not sure by any accounts of any reporting or from any sources that I have, and I know some individuals that also have government contacts and whatnot. This has never come up. It could be the case, but it's still speculation on his part. So while John Ferguson may be a subject matter expert on drones, thus far this information is very subject. It's very much opinion and speculation. But it's opinion and speculation that I believe he does believe, and that he may have gotten some information from somebody somewhere that is associated with the government via his interactions in the contracts and the products that he sells to the government. So that could be the case here. That very well could be the case. All right, let's resume this video.
Here in the United States, and they felt like it was high probability that the nuclear or the radioactive material would be taken along the Interstate 70 corridor heading east or west or south. So from what we understand, they were out there trying to find this radioactive material. Now, drones, they have no reason to be in the air at night unless you're doing some type of ISR work, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, looking for bad guys, or looking for a victim, a search and rescue victim, or law enforcement, or some type of military project, right? There's no reason for a drone to be flying at night, really, okay? Because they don't see shit. So, unless you have thermal optics, drones really don't see stuff. You need to do mapping during the day. If you're going to do farming stuff, you mostly do it during the day. The only reason why you would ever fly an unmanned aircraft at night, is if you're looking for something, whether it be a person or trying to smell gas. We have methane gas detection systems that can detect gas leaks in pipelines. You really wouldn't use thermal optics for trying to find gas leaks, just simply because the only way you're actually going to find a gas leak with thermal optics is if the gas leak is aggressive enough that it has a difference in temperature. Because thermal imaging, it creates a digital image based off of the temperature variance. So whatever is different in temperature, it creates an image. Usually gas leaks so slow that it goes quickly into ambient before you can even see it. So we have special sensors that can detect gas leaks. We also have special sensors that can detect radioactive material. So with this gentleman that I had spoken with, who was trying to raise the alarm to try to get somebody in the government to say, hey, we need to work together to go try to find this nuclear warhead, none of that ever happened. They knew that warhead was on its way to the United States. That's all that ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. This government did not do anything at all to help this gentleman raise the alarm and raise awareness that there is a very deadly weapon on its way to the United States.
Now, All right. So John here is correct in drones and their use, especially from his perspective as a manufacturer. He does know about drones. I have a friend of mine that has worked with me for many years, and when he was going to school at the university level, he was part of a program with the state of California, and he himself is an actual drone pilot. So he got to test drones for government programs that were sponsored by the state of California. And I can tell you firsthand that yes, it's true. There are multiple sensors and devices that you can go ahead and put on these drones so that they can do various things, all the way from agriculture to search and rescue, as John Ferguson said, to military applications. But you can use them at night. There are absolutely sensors and optics available for flying at night. And my friend did do this as well. So the only reason to use them at night, as he says, is for like search and rescue, or if you're looking for someone, could be. Or the other reason is to, let's just be honest, not raise alarm, because when you have a multiple amount of drones in the air at one time, it does raise suspicion. The other reason I would say to fly them at night could be to hide what they look like, their true size and what they look like. Because while the drone in the air has lights, for example, for identification of where they're at, the night sky still very much shields their true shape, form, and size. So it's still pretty hard to determine exactly what they look like and what they're doing. Hence why in my previous episode, I was chalking this up to military testing technologies. And it also could just be a government contracted manufacturer, such as John Ferguson's company, for example, that are also testing these drones in the area. There is a base over there that literally does testing on various assets that they own. So I want to believe John. I believe John when it comes to his knowledge of the drones. What I'm questioning is this individual that he claims to have contact with. And he may very well have contact with this individual, but I got to question the validity of this individual that he is speaking to themselves and where that person's getting their information. And so the only thing I have, or the only problem I have with this video, is it's further kicking the hornet's nest of delusion and hysteria and panic. And I'm not saying that's John's intent. I feel that John thinks that he is a whistleblower, a legitimate whistleblower who cares about what's going on. And I believe that's why he made this video. So I don't want to discredit this guy. I'm not saying that he's intentionally going out of his way to make up a story, because I don't believe he is. I believe he believes the information he is getting. And I believe that he has real concern. But be careful. If you're out there and you found this video and you viewed it and you took it for just face value, just do a little critical thinking here. It's very easy for any of us to be John, to believe what we're told, because we all want to believe an authority figure, or at least someone who claims to be an authority figure. And again, I haven't spoken to John directly. I hope that he becomes a guest. I hope he's able to come on the show and we can have a discussion. And I'd like to get a feel for where he's at. But as of now, I can say I think he believes the information he was given. But be careful out there. Don't get tripped up. Don't get tripped up and caught up in this. Stay calm. Don't panic. And listen, let's just be real. Not everything you see in the sky is a damn drone. It's just not. It's just not. And it doesn't help that the general public is also going out at night and flying their own personal drones and creating even more hysteria and panic. The real issue we have here is our government not admitting the truth of the matter. Whether it is our actual military testing, military assets, or a government contractor testing assets that are to be supplied to the military, they just have to admit it. Just say it. Say, hey, look, there's nothing to be scared of. There's nothing going on. We're literally testing new technologies based out of our government facility in the area. And that is the truth. And it would put people's minds at ease. Now, for the final segment of this episode, I'm going to try to continue to lighten the mood. And as you know, especially if you've been listening to the show lately, I like to dive into geopolitics. I like to talk about what's going on around the world, not just in the United States. And so we're going to head to Denmark. And there's an interesting development in Denmark. You see, Denmark is now going to be the first country in the world to tax farmers for their farts. That's right. Denmark plans to tax carbon emissions from livestock farming. Listen, if you have not seen the movie Idiocracy, do yourself a favor and watch it. I don't think there's ever been a time, at least in my life, where that movie makes so much sense. So the government of Denmark finds that they're going to be able to. I mean, I don't know how they're going to achieve this. How are they going to determine how much, for example, cows and pigs fart and release methane gas? How are they going to be able to determine how much a farmer pays? I mean, and what's next? How are they going to approach the next taxation as it relates to carbon emissions? Are they going to now put monitors in all of our pants, our clothes that we're going to be forced to wear, and they're going to monitor humans for how much you fart? Can you imagine that your daily life, you get charged depending on how much methane you release out of your own ass? I mean, seriously? Oh, my Lord. Anyway, let's go over to Euro News. And there's a video. There's a report on this. I'm just going to play this. Let's just listen.
Everybody, especially Danish farmers, we want to be the greenest and the best. If we get the tax, we will have problems to keep doing that because we cannot invest in the green technology. This is the only country who wants to make taxes, and taxes is not good from the market. If we get a carbon tax, I'm not going to be competitive to the other countries, so I'm going to stop having my sows. I'm still going to have the fields and trying to get along, but I'm not being able to have a production like this.
Do you have one question to ask to Brussels?
Yeah. Dear politicians in Brussels, please tell Denmark that we have to make the carbon tax, of course, but do it on the other countries also. All the countries in the world would be best, but at least in Europe, that we can do it at the same time. It's not good for one small country who is really dependent on the competition.
Okay, so I didn't play all of that video because a lot of it was in other languages, but this pig farmer, goes to tour and show all the systems he already has in place to help reduce pollution and how they reuse the manure from the pigs for various things, how they have systems in place that actually they can use some of the energy and how they process to actually warm the facilities for the pigs, and then they could also use the manure for fertilizer and various other things. And so this farmer, and most farmers, I believe, in Denmark, are already taking a green approach. But how do you propose a carbon tax on methane release from animals that literally it's a byproduct of eating food, just as humans do the same thing? It's a byproduct of your digestion and the foods you eat. It's natural. To sit here and blame the pollution of the world on pig farms and cow farms is ridiculous. It's just insane. I am not really sure how the governments even come together to put these ideas together. I mean, are they not getting enough money that now they have to tax farmers and make it harder for them to be competitive in the marketplace? They have to add another expense to their bottom line. I mean, this is laughable. They're taxing farts. Let's just be honest. They're taxing the farts of animals. And guess what? While we laughed at this video, at this situation, don't think that humans aren't next. Don't think you won't be next, that your farts will then be the next thing that the government wants to tax. I don't know where all this is going, but the ridiculousness of this world right now is beyond comprehension to me. I just don't know what to do. I really don't. But hey, I thought you would find that story interesting. And with that, I'm going to close this out. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging in there. And again, give us a follow. Give us a share. You can find me at Fonts Ablaze on X. And have a great day.
I wanna taste your content, hold your breath and feel the tension. Devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell.